Hi, this is Joe,
And this is Evan.
and this is the Nonsensory podcast. On today's episode, Microsoft announces an official date for their upcoming first-party showcase. But is Sony looking to steal their thunder with a big announcement of their own? Investments galore, as both Microsoft and Tencent are interested in acquiring even more studios, while Sony seems to be getting even more involved with Epic by the week. Naughy Dog looks to already be moving on to their next project after The Last of Us 2, but are currently mired in a cesspool of gamer harassment and abuse. Finally, after moving past all the failed attempts at reviving Half-Life with Half Life Alyx, the folks at Valve seem eager to make a proper non-VR version. Could this be the Half-Life 3 we waited all these years for? That and much more ahead, so stick around and let's get to it.
Greetings and welcome to episode 15 of the Nonsensory podcast. You can hear our soothing voices every week by finding us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, and Stitcher. If you'd rather get a look at our beautiful faces, though, you can also subscribe to us on YouTube, or come check out our regular Tuesday stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/nonsensory. On social media, we tweet at Nonsensory1, and you can find us on Facebook at Nonsensory Podcast. You can also support us on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/nonsensorypod. We have 4 tiers of membership ranging from $1 to $20, and perks range from getting to vote in polls to getting a free puppet show from Joe before every show. We've got a packed show today, but before we get into the news, Joe, how have you been, buddy? What have you been playing? What have you been watching? Anything new and special going on in your life that you want to share?
Yeah, so I have been better. Things are a little rough, but we won't get too far down the rabbit hole. I finished Sword, Pokemon Sword.
Okay.
So that's good.
How long were you at that? How long were you chipping away at that?
I think I have 45 hours.
Oh, wow.
It's not that long. It's just I kind of took a very long break, and then I came back. I forgot how good it was. I was distracted by other things, like this and our stream and
I don't want to be
life
a distraction for you, Joe.
So I finally went back and I'm like, why haven't I played this? It's so good. And I finished it up, and I finished off the story, and now I think I'm going to go back and do some more just catching and fighting, because it's fun. It's really good. And I also played some Division 2.
Nice. We talked a little bit before the show, but I really need to actually get into that game. I love the Division 1. It was so good.
I think I've probably got 30 hours in it.
I have.
So good.
So with me, I just finished The Last of Us 2. So that would actually give me, I'm thinking of what I'll play next, and I think maybe I could try to do that. I've got that in the queue. I want to actually go through and really try to power through Arkham Knight. And I also have to finish off the last couple levels of Doom Eternal, and I need to go back and finish God of War. I've tried it twice, and I've gotten 20 hours into it both times, and then I just stop at a certain point.
And that's probably one of those ones where it's really hard to do, just jump right back in.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to restart it again. So
yeah, that's unfortunate. I hate that. You get to the point where it's I can't jump back in without restarting, and then you're so discouraged from even starting up.
Yeah, when I get to those points, I really need to start telling myself look, you've gotten this far. Unless you want to go through that again, you should probably just finish it.
Well, in some games, it's not that big a deal because it's good enough that I can do that again.
Yeah,
but yeah, and I'm sure God of War is one of those.
Oh yeah, it is. It's pretty. I always have to learn the controls again every time. You know?
We you neglected to mention Killing Floor, that we might have to play that one, I believe, right now.
Yeah, it's free on Steam.
No, Epic Game Store.
Epic Game Store.
For this month. So
we're currently in the midst of our Halo stream.
Yes.
So when can we realistically carve out some time to get us all in on that?
I mean, we could do a separate night.
I'd be
maybe
down. I would be down for that. Yeah,
maybe that's
if we have the free time.
It's hard. Yeah,
I don't want to I don't want to. want to like throw off the flow of our Halo stream.
Yeah.
So.
That's tough. We'll have to figure that one off air. As far as so Division 2 is great. It's a really good stress reliever. That's kind of why I went back into it. I was like, I need something where I can shoot things, where the shooting is really snappy, and where I don't feel severely underpowered, but it's also not like too easy.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like this nice, at least for my skill level, it's this nice little balance where it's like I'll still get wasted by somebody.
Yeah.
Like, how did that happen? But at the same time, it's also like, got you. You can put people down, you know? So it kind of...
Yeah, that game always did provide like a decent challenge because the enemies are kind of spongy.
Yeah.
But they also will flank you and kind of... There's a decent amount of them that they throw at you at a time. It's easy to get surrounded.
One of the things that's really annoying about the enemies, and this isn't something we're really supposed to be diving too far into, but one of the things about the enemies in Division 2... I didn't play the first one, just to clarify. But in that one, there are those enemies where they'll hide behind cover. And, I mean, they'll move a decent amount. But a lot of times, you can just... They went down behind that wall in this spot, so I'll just aim at it. Mm-hmm. And they'll pop up and you just pick them off when they stand back up. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
Move.
Yeah, they can be a little stupid.
What have I been watching? Not too much, to be honest. Hannah season 2 came out. I haven't watched it, but I saw season 1 and it's fantastic.
I've never seen that. What's it about?
I think there was a book I never read, but I saw the movie, and I think it went by the same name, and the movie was not great. But season 1, it's on Amazon, by the way. Season 1 is really good. I'd pull up a description, but it's basically like this guy worked for the Russian government, I guess. Uh-huh. And at some point he took a little girl. I don't remember the exact circumstances on why, but I don't remember if they were actually father and daughter, but she was basically going to be trained on how to be like a killing machine type of deal, you know, spy, whatever. And like he took her and trained her in the woods. And then she was like, I don't want to be in the woods anymore, and started exploring. Like, she left, and then it's kind of her story on finding out like why it was that she was taken.
Okay.
It's really good.
It sounds interesting. So she's kind of like, I always thought she's like a secret agent kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I'll have to check that out. Is it kind of like I really like the Bourne movies. Is it kind of similar to that?
I'd say, yeah, she's kind of almost a Russian female Jason Bourne. I would say that.
I'd be into that.
And also Killing Eve. I don't know if you've watched that at all. That's on Hulu.
I've heard of it though.
Season 1 was brilliant, and season 2 came out, and I haven't watched any of that either. I watched like 10. It was one of those things where I was up real late, and I watched like 15 minutes of it and fell asleep, and so I haven't gone back to it yet.
Yeah.
But that's about it. Hold on. Oh, and my car is taking a serious dump.
Yeah. You told me about it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully that ends up being not that much of a burden.
Yeah.
Cars are always a burden, but
yeah,
there are varying degrees of being a burden.
Here's the part that I didn't get to tell you, that I'm not sure if you know, that's really frustrating about it, is that this month is the last payment.
Oh yeah,
on the car too.
Well, not technically, I guess.
So what about you?
Count as a payment, but yeah, I just, like I said, I just finished The Last of Us 2. After playing it the whole way through, I have to say that I get some of the complaints. The majority of the complaints I feel like they're baseless.
Right.
Against the game. I loved the game. I loved the new characters. I love the way that they took the story. I don't really like. There's so much. I don't want to spoil anything. I want people to get into the experience basically as blind as they possibly can, and just let it take you, because it's brilliant in a way that like Red Dead is brilliant. It's like one of those.
That's a bold statement, Cotton.
It's one of those tentpole kind of experiences, I think, really. Like, if you want to know what the pinnacle of what these games can be, I would say that it's that. Good and bad. You know, take away what you will. It does play it a little safe in terms of, like, you know, the gameplay is very similar to the first game. If you didn't like the gameplay in the first game, I don't think that it's going to change your mind at all with this game. But I'm all right with stuff. I really like the gameplay, the stealth. Like, nothing about the gameplay is exceptionally different or like, it's not like top tier shooting or top tier stealth or whatever. But it works, and I had fun the entire time. And I know that a bunch of people that were reviewing it said that they didn't like the gameplay, you know, that it wasn't enough to carry them through the whole game, and that they got fatigued and stuff.
That's interesting.
I didn't have that, so.
That's interesting. I wonder how they felt about the first one.
The first one's about 15 hours.
Well, and the second, gameplay-wise, I mean, because if they didn't change much, I did hear a lot of criticism from some people about how the first game played, but I actually really liked it. I mean, it does take a little while to get kind of to adjust to the way it controls, because, I mean, Naughy Dog kind of classically, all the Uncharted's, and, you know, the shooting is kind of the same. But I actually took to it pretty quick, and I actually really appreciated the way that it controlled. It makes you feel, I don't know how to say. I like it. So
it's weird because they give you, you know, they give you that whole upgrade tree that they had from the first game, and you upgrade your guns and how you can handle your guns, and how you're like you upgrade yourself in terms of like how you can shoot, and also you upgrade your guns in terms of how they handle and stuff. And so that builds up over the course of the game, and it's funny because they, as the story would have you getting in more like badass gunfighty moments, is like as the game progresses, like the more you start using your guns more is like when the guns actually start feeling like good to use.
That's interesting.
And I know that the main criticism about this game, other than like the reveals and where they took the plot and the characters and stuff, has been that you have to play the second half in a certain way. Like the second half takes a turn that people don't like, and I found that the second half is my favorite part of the game, bar none. I don't think it has like the emotional hit you moments that happen with like Joel and Ellie at the start of the game, but there's a complexity there that's there if you're willing to see it. But if you're one of those people that's already going and rolling your eyes, you're not going to appreciate them. And there's just so many little nuances to what they do in terms of like the acting and the world building and all that stuff. It's just, man, I could go on about it forever. It's packed full of like little things that make it so good.
Well, little bit of behind the scenes. So you've played it, and now you're gonna let me borrow it. So I'm gonna play it, and then maybe once I've played it, once I've beaten it, maybe we'll do an episode and we'll
definitely do just like a spoiler cast kind of Last of Us episode. That would be great.
Yeah,
maybe it'll
because I have a feeling that we're gonna have different opinions on this. I'm not trying to go into it with any kind of like because I loved the first one.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe I'm a little bit tainted from having heard other people say things. You know what I mean? I'm trying to stay away from that. I want to go in with an open mind.
I heard at least what you've heard before I started playing the game.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about those things constantly, and just baffled that those things were even like I could see that they were concerns for people, but the level to which people were like blowing them up to be issues was like, I could see where you'd have an issue, but the fact that it's not a tiny issue and that it's like a deal breaking issue is what I don't get.
Yeah. So we'll definitely have to get into that.
Before we get into the news, though, we have today's question of the day, which you can also take part in. You can send us an email at nonsensorypod@gmail.com, and or you can leave a comment in the YouTube section and just basically tell us what you think about our question of the day. And it is, what is a food item that everyone loves that you absolutely cannot stand and would permanently ban people from eating if you could? Literally just, ruin everybody else's fun as well, kind of thing.
Okay. So I would answer this question outright immediately, but I'm actually curious how you came to this question and what your answer is.
Okay.
But so we kind of like hinted at our selections before the episode. So
for an example, like this can be either a specific food, a way that things are prepared, or like a pairing of food together. So like if you hate ketchup on hot dogs or something, and
which is what's wrong with you?
I don't know. Some people are friggin' insane. And you should send us an email though. But I really, like the obvious one that people go to all the time is like, I hate pineapple on pizza.
Okay. I kind of suspected you were going to say
like,
that as your thing.
Or like, I don't like cilantro or something like that.
Yeah. Which I don't understand because cilantro is like the best.
It's some people think it tastes like soap.
Yeah.
It's like a weird, like a scientifically talked about thing.
Yeah. I think that's actually just because of something evolutionary or something, whatever, where some people just taste things different.
I personally hate truffles.
What?
I hate the taste of truffle. It is gross. It tastes like it tastes like a salty fart. If that makes any sense. Like, I know farts can't smell salty, but it tastes like if something was salty and also if you could taste a fart at the same time. I have this truffle salt that I have downstairs. I think I gave it to you.
Yeah, I think you did.
And that's why. I bought it and I was like, I like truffles. And then I tried a truffle thing and it made me like almost gaggingly sick.
What?
Yeah.
I love truffles. Truffles taste amazing. I wish they weren't so friggin' expensive.
I love it. Some people out there, that if you hear this, you might be like, oh, truffles, look at these fancy guys or whatever. But it's not that crazy. So, yeah, if I could eliminate truffles from the world, because
wow.
My part is that they like to shoehorn things that I hate into other things too, which is what ruins other stuff.
Is that your only choice?
Like if I went to a bar and I was like, man, I'm hungry, I really want some fries, and the only fries they had on the menu were truffle fries, I would lose my mind. I'd be like, ugh.
But is that your only thing? Do you have something else?
I'm struggling to think of something else right now.
Okay.
Besides pineapple on pizza.
So, yeah.
I hate pineapple on pizza.
When you said you could make it a combo, so you said what the question was before we started today.
Yeah.
And I was like, immediately I had my thing. And then you were like, but wait, it could be a combo. Immediately I was like, pineapple on pizza. Like,
yeah.
Done.
Yeah,
No one,
yeah.
just shut up.
That one is given out too much. I need something more from you.
But my immediate answer, and I don't think this will be a surprise, but black licorice.
Oh, okay. I also hate black licorice.
Yeah, it should be gone. It should not exist.
No
one should be allowed to eat it.
Nobody should be fennel. That's another thing that I hate. I hate fennel because it's the same kind of thing. It's that black licorice-y kind of thing.
What's weird is anise, star anise, it's the same flavor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But somehow, if you put that in something, like if you put that flavor into pho,
yeah,
for
I use
example,
it. I have that specifically for pho. Yeah,
it actually works. Like it's a good flavor, but like on its own, it's the most nastiest, most disgustingest flavor. Okay, so if you have a particular thing, The question again is, what is a food item that everyone loves that you absolutely cannot stand and would permanently ban from eating if you could? So actually, mine, neither one of mine were actually a good answer to this question, because it's everyone loves.
I think a lot of people do love licorice.
I think licorice is divisive, like pineapple on pizza is divisive. It's not that everyone loves it. What's something everyone loves? That's not one I'm going to have to think on.
Okay.
If I can think of something by the end of the show, maybe we'll bring it back.
I don't think that everybody has to love it. There's just something that has like its ardent defenders. You know.
Okay. So if you have a thing to answer to this question, please email us at nonsensorypod@gmail.com, or else you can comment on our YouTube video or wherever you're listening if they have comments.
Send us a tweet, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Today's episode is brought to you by Tales from the Arcanist and thearcanist.io. The Arcanist serves up bite-sized science fiction, fantasy, and horror from independent authors all over the globe. Everything is about a 5-minute read or less, so these little bite-sized tales are easy to binge when you have a moment on your lunch break, or perhaps when you're planted firmly on the toilet. The Arcanist also has essays about modern culture, the art of writing, the history of fiction, and much more. Their weekly fiction podcast, Tales from the Arcanist, is a similarly bite-sized listen that collects 2 stories, one brand new and one from their archive, and delivers the spooky and strange fresh to your ears. To check out thearcanist.io or to submit a work of your own, visit the link in the description. You can find their podcast, Tales from the Arcanist, there as well, or find it on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, or Apple Podcast.
So with that, you did the greeting. I will take the first news segment.
News time! News team!
News team assemble! All right. Microsoft announces date. Did I hit the button? I did. Microsoft announces date for Xbox Games Showcase as July 23rd. This is an article by Tom Warren at The Verge. Microsoft will hold its Xbox Series X game event on July 23rd at 9 p.m. Pacific time. Did I say 9 p.m.? 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Eastern time. The company is planning on showing games made by its Xbox Game Studio, including Halo Infinite. 343 Industries briefly teased Halo Infinite in a trailer a couple of weeks ago, revealing that the banished antagonists are returning for the next big installment in the Halo franchise. There will be... Yeah, you saw that too. There will be more than just Halo, though. Microsoft has been steadily acquiring game studios, and the company now has 15 Xbox game studios in total. I did not realize that. That's a lot. Xbox fans are now hoping to see what those studios are working on for the Xbox Series X. Microsoft recently created a Fable placeholder Twitter account, leading fans to wonder if the game might make a return during July's Xbox event. Given Microsoft released a Hellblade 2 teaser during its Xbox Series X unveiling last year, it's reasonable to assume we'll be seeing more from Ninja Theory about this upcoming title. Psychonauts 2 is still due in 2020 for Microsoft's Double Fine studio, and there's bound to be some hints at how Forza and Gears of War will adapt to the more powerful hardware in the Xbox Series X. Rare also unveiled its new Everwild game in November, and we might get a closer look at that during Microsoft's event. So I think the biggest one here for me, the biggest is Fable.
Mm-hmm. I was never a Fable person, but one of my friends a couple of my friends in high school, when we all got Xboxes to play Halo and stuff, like all of us played Halo, and then I didn't really play a whole bunch of games besides that, which sucks. And a lot of them played Fable and really, really loved it. And I never got a chance to play the Fable games, but I've heard that they have a special place in people's hearts. So, I will always be interested to see where those franchises go.
Well, I mean, what Fable introduced, the idea of your actions having real consequences in the game. In games past, before, like pre-Fable, it didn't really matter what you did. The story played out how the story played out. In Fable, it's like, how you act does things to the story.
I'm sure there are games that did that before. They just weren't like AAA, like big.
No, it might change an aspect, but it wouldn't actually change the game. So, like, famously, I can't remember which Zelda it was. I think it was actually Link's Awakening. On the original Game Boy, if you stole something from the store, you could actually go into the store and pick up an item and just walk out, and then everyone from the rest of the game would call you thief. But it didn't actually affect the game. And as far as I'm aware, there's no other games that other than Fable, until Fable, that actually, had real consequences to the story.
Okay.
And then Red Dead actually, took that too.
Well, yeah. And many, many other games.
Oh, yeah, but I think they probably did, like, the best with that idea. I would argue.
Okay. I am excited to see, like, 15 Xbox Game Studios in total.
That's insane.
I'm excited to see what they have to offer.
Could I be made to, like, put my foot in my mouth about the whole first party?
I need to have them show me is where I've been at. Like, they've just been such a disaster from first party that I need to have them show me
for a very long time
for me to even be interested. But I will always be interested in where Fable goes, what they do with Halo and Gears, and I really like Forza. So, like, I will always want to see where it's going, but I don't know if it will be for me. And again, I just need to, all these new studios and stuff like that, they're not proven. They are proven, but they're not proven to be able to deliver
as first
stuff
party
that can compete on the same level as what Sony's delivering from their first party.
Right.
So I am optimistic to see what Microsoft can do, what all of their recent acquisitions and work will come to, when everything coalesces at the end of like all this media hype around the Series X and what they're doing with their first parties and stuff, and what their launch is actually going to look like and how it's going to play out and how we'll react to it months and months down the line, years down the line. I'm really interested to see that unfold.
The other than just the excitement of maybe like what we haven't seen before, because that is exciting. Anytime there's like the unknowns, it's like, what could there be in store? Like, that's got me really excited. The only other thing other than Fable, though, that's a known that I'm really like, I want to see whatever they do with Hellblade 2.
Yeah, I didn't play it, but I have watched enough of it and watched a buddy play it and stuff. It was there was a lot of walking simulator aspects to it for me, where stuff happened, and it played with your mind and stuff, but for the most part, like, you kind of walked around, and then maybe you did some light combat here and there, but it wasn't. I want them to flesh it out into more of a game than what it was.
I can see that criticism.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. I thought it was really enjoyable, but I can definitely respect that opinion.
And Microsoft, okay, so they've got 15 studios under their belt, but they're not done yet, as it's rumored that they're also interested in purchasing WB Interactive. We talked about this on our last episode.
Oh, yeah.
But AT&T is looking to offload... Sorry, this is from Fraser Brown from PC Gamer. Following a report that AT&T was looking to offload subsidiary Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment, or WB Games, it looks like Microsoft can now be interested in picking it up, according to the information. AT&T is allegedly looking to get $4 billion from the sale, which would net the buyer an impressive roster of studios including NetherRealm, Monolith, Avalanche, Traveler's Tales, and Rocksteady. WB holds an impressive number of high-profile intellectual properties with the likes of Lego, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, and other properties. It is unclear what would happen to the licenses should the publisher leave the fold. If Warner Brothers is getting out of the game publishing, it may be that it offers the licenses to said properties to the buyer as part of the deal. Microsoft is just one of several companies rumored to be interested in acquiring the publisher, joining Activision, Take-Two, and EA. Neither AT&T or the supposed interested parties have commented on the reports. WB Games was expected to announce a couple of big games this summer following a pile of Batman rumors and a Harry Potter RPG leak. Batman and Harry Potter were reportedly going to be announced at E3, but they've not appeared in any of the showcases replacing E3. It's going to be announcing something at the DC event in August, however, which would be the perfect place to reveal something Bat-themed. I will always... Rocksteady is one of the best studios out there right now. The Batman games are so well made and put together. I think it would be a huge boon whoever gets them. I really think it would make the most sense. Like, Microsoft just looks to be trying to gather as many studios as it possibly can to really push against Sony for first party. So it would make a lot of sense for them to pick them up. It also would make a whole lot of sense for Activision to pick them up, because outside of Call of Duty and like a handful of other games, they don't really make that much. Blizzard games and Call of Duty are basically make up like the majority of where their money comes from. So it would be good for them to actually diversify again and be able to rely on stuff beyond COD and Blizzard games. Because if either of those, you know, like franchises or studios takes a dive, then Activision's in kind of a lot of trouble. And I could also see Sony wanting to get involved in this. I think last week it was also rumored that Sony was looking at it as well, just as a way to kind of keep ahead of Microsoft. So,
I wonder about how this will pan out for Microsoft as far as like, I mean, there's a lot they have among their studios. They have a lot of heavy hitters.
Yeah.
And adding some of these WB studios, though they're also heavy hitters, some of them.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, with Rocksteady, I mean, Rocksteady's huge. Mm-hmm. But I do wonder about quality over quantity.
I mean, NetherRealm, Avalanche isn't like on the same level as somebody like Rocksteady, but they're very solid. They deliver very functional games. They always look really good. Monolith is also it's like a very tested studio. It's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
So
very, very long.
I don't know. It's less of like, it doesn't look like they're going to be in like supportive roles. I think that they could really, if given the opportunity to make a franchise, like if Sony were to buy them up, or Microsoft were to buy them up and give them the opportunity to make one of these like headline kind of games, I would be really interested to see if they could make that jump. And I think that they have the ability. It's just,
I have a prediction.
okay.
I think this is like the first time, and it probably will be one of the very few times I make a prediction gaming related, because I'm not the most in the know. But Monolith,
Joe Stradamus over.
Monolith, I mean, what else could they do, honestly? They're going to do something Fear. They have to. Okay? But I'm going to bet that when they do oh, you're looking it up. When Monolith does Fear, they're going to do a Fear prequel. They're going to explain almost a little more of Alma's past and how I don't know, because then you couldn't have Point Man.
They also do the Middle Earth games.
Yeah.
Middle Earth, Shadow of War, and Shadow of Mordor.
Oh yeah, I mean, we're probably going to see a Lord of the Rings, but I'm betting you during this event. Oh no, because that's right, they haven't got them yet. I'm just telling you, Monolith is going to do another Fear game.
That would be awesome. I would love that. I would love to see that that series like revitalized.
I mean, in the current atmosphere, a lot of games are being brought back. I know that they had to have been disappointed with how Fear 3 turned out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the perfect game to come back as a revival.
I mean, Monolith is they're such an underrated studio. Okay, Condemned, Criminal Origins. You remember this game?
Yes. Yeah.
Super underrated survival horror game. Fear. They created a classic franchise with Fear, and they really contributed an important thing with Shadow of Mordor. Whenever they had the Nemesis system, that a bunch of like people have tried to copy and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
like they're a super talented, creative studio, and I think that they would be a great get. And again, like they don't get the recognition that they deserve because their stuff isn't always like it's not on the same level as like a Last of Us or a Halo or a Gears of War. But if given the opportunity to make something like that, I think that they could handle it. So, and they're, they've done. Condemned was a first-person game, but it was like a first-person survival horror game. Fear was a shooter. Middle-earth, Shadow of War, and Mordor are basically like Assassin's Creed-ish games. So they have a wide variety of genres that they can do too.
Oh yeah.
So,
I'm kind of excited to see how that goes, and I think seeing them in the hands of who was it?
It's what do you mean? Like
just Microsoft in general.
Microsoft in general, but it's also Activision, Take-Two, and EA are also interested. So
okay,
and I think the rumor was Sony at some point.
I think seeing them in the hands of Activision would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I just don't know where. I like Activision's pretty scummy.
I don't want. Well, EA is pretty damn scummy.
Yeah. So is Take-Two. So, like, I don't know. It's not like I don't want to be pessimistic about it, but like with these big players like this, there is the opportunity that
of those
they might kill whatever game comes out from these guys if given the chance, based on like horrible microtransactions being forced into it or something like that.
That's what I'm saying. Of these three, Activision, Take-Two, or EA, of those choices, is Activision not the best choice?
I don't know, because like EA is coming out with that single player Star Wars starfighting game.
Watch them kill that too. Come on.
I understand, but EA seems to be trying to pivot away from horrible monetization in their games. Not so much their sports titles, but like with the Star Wars franchise, nobody thought that they would do a single player Star Wars game with Jedis. They did sort of do that. Now and it didn't have any microtransactions. It's just, like they've shown that they can not completely screw something over.
But what they did with that game was they also half-assed it.
Which game?
Jedi Fallen Order was really like it was good, but like it was buggy as hell.
Yeah, it came out really fast. Like they got it out quick
because they want to make their money. They know where their money's at.
Well, and they also, I think that they probably sped up the development of that game because of all the backlash that they got from like Battlefront 2. It was really like, we really need to give them something that's gonna kind of smooth things over.
Maybe, but like you could have put a little more polish on that. Shall we?
In other massive corporations acquiring more stuff news, Tencent is in talks to acquire Digital Extremes owner Leo Technologies. This is from an article from PC Gamer by Fraser Brown. Following the notice that it had temporarily ceased trading on the Hong Kong Limited Stock Exchange, Leo Technologies has confirmed that it entered into an exclusive agreement with Tencent over a possible acquisition and privatization. Leo Technologies, the holding company that owns Warframe developer Digital Extremes and Gears Tactics developer Splash Damage, has stopped trading shares on the Hong Kong Limited Stock Exchange ahead of an announcement regarding a buyout. The notice from Reset Era does not mention specifics, but Leo has been looking to sell since last year, with iDreamSky and is that iDreamSky? I don't know. And Sony being among the companies interested in adding it to their roster. I think we talked about this also last week, where Sony was involved. A lot of this news is just like, hey, Sony was involved last week, and now other people are interested as well. According to a Bloomberg report, Tencent has also joined the gang and has entered an agreement with the holding company, though this does not guarantee that the deal will go through. Tencent's reach is becoming increasingly vast, with big stakes in the likes of Epic, Supercell, Fat Shark, Funcom, Grinding Gear Games, Paradox Interactive, and Riot, which it owns completely. It also made investment in PUBG's Bluehole. And Bluehole, the developer of PUBG, and Ubisoft, Activision, and Frontier. So Tencent scares a lot of people.
Yeah. Okay. If I may.
Go on. Passion, integrity.
Some people need like. So in the midst of this whole COVID-19 / Black Lives Matter, I don't know what to say. Like, it's the overwhelming, news around all of this that's going on, the protests, the rioting, the dying.
Yeah.
China, which Tencent is a Chinese company, China has taken this opportunity to basically take over Hong Kong, take away Hong Kong's anonymity, that's not the word I meant, autonomy.
Yeah.
That's the word I meant. No one, I don't think it's as big a thing on people's minds as it really should be. An entire country has been, dominated by a totalitarian regime, and people's freedoms have been destroyed. And it's not the big news that it should be in the world. And this Chinese company is going out and like making all of these power grabs in the gaming industry. I mean, China's not a good place.
No.
I'm not trying to say anything against Chinese citizens.
Right.
The government of China are not good people. And because they are a communist government, that means all of their production is from the government. That means this company is the Chinese government.
Yeah. China's influence over media in general just keeps increasing and increasing and increasing.
It's very scary.
You see it the same way with like how they changed the Star Wars posters to make John Boyega smaller on the posters and stuff because they want to limit. They want to put the white actors in the front and the black actors in the back because it's not as friendly to.
But
China.
America's the racist country.
Right. But then again, we don't have to also capitulate to them. That's the thing. And I think that's important. Is like China can do whatever it wants to kind of go out and like what they're doing in Hong Kong is awful. But like a company like Tencent, if when presented with the money, these companies are going to continue to take the money. And if people really are concerned with the growth of, China's influence over entertainment, I don't think that you can just go, well, Tencent's the problem because it's also...
I'm not saying that they're the problem.
No. I'm not saying you are either. I'm just saying like a lot of people point to Tencent and say that they're the bad guy. And it's like, look, they're just offering the money.
Right.
Everybody else is also greedy enough to then take the money because why would you not? Because money is good for me. But
the capitalism loving side of me is like, hey, they have the money.
Right. Communists run Tencent basically, or like, is basically just using capitalism,
as all communists do. But right. That's a topic for another time.
But what is this? I mean, I worry about the homogenization of games once, large companies start getting their hands into every little thing. We ran down the list of how many developers and publishers and stuff that Tencent has money invested in. And at some point, when are we going to see Tencent's Activision moment where all of Activision's products had to have microtransactions and they had like this the development of Call of Duty was like regimented and all this stuff and it's like on this schedule and stuff. Like at some point, when is Tencent going to have enough influence that it's just going to go, this is the Tencent way of doing things and we expect people to do it that way and stuff like that. And at that point, a lot of games from a lot of different places are going to start to look very similar, or at least the business around them is going to operate very similar, and it's going to be a large influence on on the industry, and I just wonder the consequences of that. So,
I mean, it's scary times, and I think China has to have, like, not Tencent specifically. China needs to have some kind of. They've kind of. I feel like they're on the global stage. We're not a political podcast, but I feel like on the global stage, China's being handled with kid gloves, and it's time to take them off.
yeah.
Because real ramifications. I mean, the whole COVID-19 thing is because of how they run their markets, and they every couple of years they unleash a new virus on the world. And if we need to do something about it, they can't be allowed to keep on just making everyone sick. The entire world is on lockdown.
Yeah, I don't think it's extreme to say that. I really don't. It's it's not like we're not asking them to like bow down to everybody else by doing that. It's just like, like we consistently have viruses and stuff coming from your country. Like, you guys need to change how you operate for the betterment of the world.
Yeah,
that's it.
The COVID-19 isn't the only virus. There's been one every 2 years for the last, 10 at least.
Yeah,
that we're aware of.
Before we get too off topic,
yeah,
the last thing that I would say, is that, like, I'm perfectly fine. Like, as an American, you can be perfectly fine being like, well, I'm not going to judge them as like a country for like their businesses expanding and getting more and more powerful. Like, it's the free market, it's the world stage. Do it, but like when you start getting into totalitarianism and oppression and taking over and expanding your reach beyond your borders and stuff like that in a forceful, violent sort of way. That's when you need to step in, and that's when things are no longer okay. It's not competition anymore. It is oppression.
I think the last thing I'll say on this whole thing is that if we were, like, I apologize for getting a little bit passionate there. You
How dare you get passionate, Joe?
You did throw in a warning.
Stop entertaining the people.
I didn't mean to make it a big thing. We're way gonna run over time. I
don't care.
I apologize.
I don't care about the time, actually, today. We're not even going to worry about the time.
I kind of had my thought derailed. Okay. If we were a political, or at least we could probably do like a month's worth of shows, 2 months worth of shows on just why it is that people need to actually care about what China's up to.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to leave it at that. Like, do your own research. Don't listen to what other people tell you. Be aware of what's going on in the world.
Yes.
That's in general.
And remember when we're all caught up. I think that what you kind of touched on is, remember when we're all caught up in 1 or 2 or 3 issues that are going on right now, which are still important. Nobody's trying to say that those issues aren't important. Like, nobody's trying to say that the protests aren't important, and protesting against police brutality is not important, or taking coronavirus very seriously. Nobody is saying that those things shouldn't be a priority for you. It shouldn't be your main priority right now. But it's also like we get so compartmentalized within what is the most concerning at the moment that there's little things that sneak by that people don't notice. And it's strategic. It's so that you can, like, there's no doubt that they did that while this is happening, specifically because everybody's so focused on this other thing.
Exactly.
People like to move in the dark, and whenever everybody's caught up with these super big issues, that's when people do stuff like this. It happens in our own country where everybody will be freaking out about a certain thing, and then Congress will pass some stuff and you'll barely hear anything about it. And it's like, oh yeah, we'll get over the big thing. And then it'll be like, oh yeah, 2 weeks ago that they passed this horrible thing, and everybody's like, what?
Yeah.
So it's important to always be vigilant, and don't just look into, the biggest headline grabbing thing that comes to mind.
As in magic, it's the sleight of hand. You don't see what this hand is doing because
I thought you were gonna get into Magic the Gathering. You're like, this is my trap card. I know that's Yu-Gi-Oh, but I don't care.
All right.
So moving on.
Yes. So this one is mine.
Yes.
Sony to reveal
Your soul is mine.
Sony to reveal PS5 price July 13th ahead of Microsoft first-party showcase. Max Moeller at CCN and Chris Smith at BGR. We merged these two articles because one didn't do enough and one did too much. So here we go. Chances are Xbox reveal event has as a late July date, now confirmed as July 23rd. There's no E3 this year, so Microsoft is expected to focus on Halo Infinite, new features, and a price and release date for the Xbox Series X. We might see a Lockhart reveal in the process as well. If this is true, Sony might one-up Xbox with an earlier price reveal on July 13th. According to business analyst Roberto Serrano, his sources have floated this date around for some time. Could Sony be that confident in its hardware? Will the PlayStation 5 steal Xbox thunder before its chance to shine? VentureBeat's Jeff Grubb tweeted a list of upcoming events in the game industry, and Serrano chimed in to say that the PS5 price, launch date, and pre-order information will be unveiled on July 13th, which would be, I think, tomorrow.
Yes, Monday. So yesterday. Whenever this goes live.
Oh, wow.
So it might potentially have already been revealed. If it does get revealed, we'll talk about it on the next episode.
Yeah. Or we might have to have something. We'll see. In a separate tweet, he claimed that he obtained his information from sources inside the entertainment industry, but didn't expand on the matter. Why believe him? Serrano previously revealed the original PlayStation 5 event date before it was confirmed. He could be right again. Okay, so question, what price do you think the console will launch at, and what is the maximum they could charge that you would still buy it?
This is also a question for the audience, too. If you'd like to join in and chime in, send us an email, nonsensorypod@gmail.com, or comment down below if you're on YouTube. Or tweet at us. You can also tweet at us at nonsensory1. So the price that I think that it will launch at, I really think that they're going to try to. It would be good if they could launch at $450. I think that that's around the price that it actually costs to make it. And I think that they really saw a ton of success with PlayStation 4 around the $400 price point. So I think that, obviously it's a little more, but we're also in a newer generation, more powerful hardware, inflation, all that stuff. So I think that people should expect to pay more than $400 for their console, for what they're promising here. The maximum they could charge, and I would still buy it, depending on how impressive things actually end up being. Like I think that I could think about it in terms of like, am I talking about before they've even? Am I thinking about like, am I buying this on launch day versus what it would be after like a month, and I've kind of sat back and seen what the reaction is, had all the technical people go over stuff and tell you exactly what is what console does what better and all that stuff. So I think around $500 is around what I think that I would be cool with paying. Like right now, if I was like, I'm gonna get a PS5 based on what I've seen right now, $500 sounds okay. I think the maximum that I could possibly pay for it would probably be like $600. I think is what I would be willing to pay for it. Other than that, like I do have other options, so that kind of changes how I would handle it. And I think that the really nice thing about what Xbox is doing is that they're basically saying like, well, a lot of the stuff that you're going to see, you don't have to upgrade right away if you don't want to. So yeah, for me, like 600 is like the maximum. other than that, I would probably be waiting a couple years for a price cut.
So I think I'm going to dramatically step away from what you're saying, and like even before you said the number, in my mind somehow the number 600 sticks out to me.
You think that's how much it's going to be? Okay.
I mean I think it's way out there. I know, but just I hope I'm wrong because that's kind of high. But I feel like 600 might be the price for the PS5, and I have a feeling that Xbox might be like as high as 700 maybe.
Jeez.
But the reason I think that is because then they already have this program that they're working on where they're going to offer like financing for it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's...
Why else would you do that unless the price is going to be outrageous?
Yeah. That is definitely a thing that you could use to make the argument. I will agree with you on that. I just think typically when looking at previous generations and what things came out, the price of stuff when things were announced, I just think that they'd rather keep it relatively within expectations, because I think it was like $4.99 for the last Xbox, or for Xbox One.
Yeah.
was a decent amount
but
when it came out, and they also.
But the technology's gone so far, and inflation.
Yeah,
and you put those things together.
And
I mean,
and we're already seeing kind of the coinciding of game prices going up as well. So,
but here's my argument to why I can see that being a thing and why it shouldn't be as big a deal.
Mm-hmm.
It's because I kind of see this generation sticking around for longer, a lot longer probably.
I could see that because the power of these new consoles is like really, really high up there. I don't think that I've seen like such impressive hardware in a launch of a console comparatively to like what you can put in a PC ever. So you might be right. These might be sticking around for a long time.
And on top of that, I think we're already part of the discussion. This generation leap is it really necessary? So by the time the next one rolls around, it's still going to be a question. So I think you're going to see a longer push. I really do. And so you can justify a higher price because you are getting that technological jump.
Now they're talking about having the cheaper version of like Lockhart come out, which is the Xbox Series S, which is like basically a pared down Xbox Series X with same GPU, same CPU, smaller GPU.
Because it needs to be this confusing.
Yeah, it's way too confusing. But Microsoft is planning on having a cheaper option. It doesn't look like Sony is going to have a cheaper option. I think the discless version will be cheaper, for sure, but it will still be, I think, substantially more, by like $100 more than the Lockhart. Do you think that we'll get a mid-generation refresh, kind of like what we did with the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X?
I think that's become standard.
Yeah, I really think that moving forward, it's going to be, we talked about the contract kind of thing being similar to phones. I think the more and more we keep going, I think that they will release revisions of the consoles more often.
So what you'll see is that the price is going to come down as these new revisions come up. So like the PS4 Pro, you get the PS5 Pro, then the PS5 comes down in cost.
Yeah. And we usually end up getting like a slimmer version of stuff.
Exactly.
And I kind of like that. I kind of like it that way. I really do. Like, if you want to have your original launch, whatever, all the stuff will work for it. And if you want to, go out and spend the extra,
you want your 8K.
Yeah, if we drop, we drop the price of the base launch type of the launch system, and then we release something for all the people that absolutely have to have the top end and want, we'll offer something beyond that later on in the generation.
Well, I think generally we're actually starting to hit that point, like as far as computing power in general, systems, computer, game consoles and computers alike. We're starting to hit this point where improvement is decelerating.
Yeah.
there's still improvements happening, but they're not nearly as rapid as they were for the last like 10 years.
Yeah, the gap the gap between the high end and the low end is smaller than I think that it's ever been.
Yeah.
Because my buddy last night, just spent like $400 on a new graphics card for his computer. And I cannot tell you that the extra $800, $700 to $800 that he would have to spend to get a 2080 Ti, which is like the fastest graphics card on the market right now. I cannot tell you that is worth the extra money. It is definitely not. It's just not. It's barely justifiable. It's only justifiable if you absolutely have to have the top end, but you can get basically the same experience for fathoms less. And
yeah,
I like that the market is so open like that.
You helped me build my computer, so you're completely aware of what I have. I'm perfectly happy with what I have.
Yeah,
it's probably at least a generation step back.
Mm-hmm.
And it still runs perfectly fine.
Yeah, things are still great on that. So
yeah, it looks insane. It looks leagues beyond what the PS5 runs.
Yeah.
And it was not expensive.
No.
So all right, shall we jump forward?
Master Race, baby. Yeah, we can hop forward. The next piece of news is Naughty Dog condemns abusive fans sending death threats, harassment to Last of Us 2 team. This is from The Verge. Andrew Webster at The Verge. The Last of Us Part 2 developer Naughty Dog has issued a statement condemning harassment after several members of the creative team were subjected to abuse and hateful messages. Since the game's launch on June 19th, members of the team, including co-director Neil Druckmann and voice actor Laura Bailey, have posted several examples of abusive and often violent messages sent their way. Yesterday, the studio made a statement in support of their staff. Although we welcome critical discussion, we condemn any form of harassment or threats directed towards our team and cast. The studio posted on Twitter, "Their safety is our top priority, but we must all work together and root out this type of behavior and maintain a constructive and compassionate discourse." The controversy started even before the game launched, thanks to a massive leak that revealed several key story moments, including the death of a beloved character. This was followed by more innocuous things like review bombing, all the way up to hateful and violent messages directed at specific members of the team. Druckmann, for instance, posted a selection of anti-Semitic messages he received, noting, "You can love or hate the game and share your thoughts about it. Unfortunately, too many of the messages I've been getting are vile, hateful, and violent." Meanwhile, Bailey, who voiced Abby, one of The Last of Us 2's main characters, received a number of disturbing death threats. "Sometimes this just gets a little overwhelming," she wrote. In response, Druckmann said, "Unfortunately, this is now the cost of making popular entertainment that challenges conventions." Despite the controversy, The Last of Us 2 has proven to be a major blockbuster for Sony. The company says it is the fastest-selling PlayStation 4 exclusive to date, moving 4 million copies in its first 3 days of availability. So, Joe, would you like to ask this question?
So Druckmann just said up above. Hold on, let me just scroll a little bit.
This is now the cost of making popular entertainment that challenges conventions.
This is now the cost. My question is this really a new thing? And the reason I ask this question is because I can recall even when I was very little, seeing people talk about the cost of entertainment and getting death threats because of a character that they played on TV, like playing a villain that was particularly villainous.
Yeah. Like everybody thought that they were that person.
And it's like, oh, you should die.
How dare you shoot JR?
So I don't think this is new. I think it's awful.
Yeah.
These are obviously creative people making creative works. They are actors, and I think in recent time people have forgotten what being an actor means.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a different side of the spectrum, but okay, there was going to be a movie on some transgender something, okay? And they were going to cast a character, and it was going to be
Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah. Yes. And everyone was like, she can't play it because she's not transgender. Okay. Newsflash. That's why it's acting.
Yeah. Okay. To come back at that though. I mean, if we're talking about specifically like, you know, we need to get more trans people or more LGBT people into movies. Then how are they supposed to do it if not like like what better role for them to play?
But no, I understand that sentiment, but like I know we've had this discussion off screen, but like plenty of actually gay people have played straight people on TV. You don't have to play a transgender person because you're transgender. That, I think, would be horrible if it's like, oh, well, we can only hire you if you're...
Well, right, but I mean, straight people also aren't out there going, I would really love to see me on screen. I think that's the difference. There's an element of it of like, trans people and gay people want to see themselves better represented on screen. And it rings a little, I think for them, it rings a little bit hollow to have this story of like gay or trans empowerment and then have it be played by some straight person. I not that I 100% agree, because you're right, it is acting, but I can see where they're coming from and I kind of agree with them too. So, but beyond that,
this isn't okay, but that's not, just because. So should we trying to avoid spoiler. The idea that an actor is the character that they played, I think, is not a new idea. Like, people need to get this through their heads that it is acting. If I'm an actor, I have the ability to behave in a way on screen that is not the person who I am in real life.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, that actually is a talent, and it is and a skill, and it's, not everyone can do that. So the who was it that voices Bailey?
Laura Bailey, yeah.
Laura Bailey is not Abby. And so threatening her because of something that she did in the game as Abby doesn't make any sense.
No, yeah, it's completely ridiculous. And I spoke about it a little bit when I was talking about how I felt about The Last of Us 2. That the people that are the most like ardently against the game, I think, are people that haven't played it, are people that read the spoilers that are completely out of context. Like they'll spoil stuff, but then like you don't know where in the game it happens. You don't know what happens around those events that has been left out of the leaks that might flesh those things out. All it's been is, well, Naughy Dog is pandering to, the LGBT community, the trans community, to women by having like a buff female as one of the main characters in the game, and taking a dump on like the first game's characters and stuff. And I have no idea. These people make no sense to me.
Newsflash: buff women exist. They're out there.
Yeah. Why are you so fragile? I don't understand why everybody, like, if you're this fragile that a buff girl starring in a game upsets you, you need to reevaluate yourself. Okay. It's a video game. Get over yourself.
Whether or not they're pandering or not doesn't matter. Look at where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely think that there are some companies out there right now who are taking advantage and are pandering and trying to get more money, and that's, unfortunately, is a negative aspect of capitalism. Okay? But grow up. Like, there are buff women out there. There are women out there that could kick my teeth in. So what?
Yeah, and one of the main complaints, I think, is spoilers for The Last of Us Part 1 if you haven't played it. Don't listen to this. Pause it, skip ahead like a minute or whatever. But at the end of The Last of Us 1, Joel murders people that could save the world, specifically because he feels like he needs to save his new daughter figure that he's known for a couple months. And he dooms the rest of humanity for his own selfish ass reasons. And that's why she's mad at him in this next game. And people think that they're stomping all over this beloved character. And it's like, look, if you didn't notice the nuance that was happening with what they did at the end of The Last of Us with Joel, I think that you're also too dumb to understand how ridiculous you are in how you're acting right now. So like like Joel is a beloved character. You don't own this character. Naughty Dog is making this game. They're telling the story they want to tell. This isn't an RPG. You don't get to make the choices. This is the story that they want to tell. This is the direction they took it in. Joel isn't portrayed as the best guy in this game. And he's not the best guy. And they've shown you why he's not in the last game. And if you came into this game like not knowing that Ellie is gay, having problems with like a big buff girl, and like thinking that Joel was like the best dude in the universe, like I'm sorry, but I just can't sympathize with you at all. I can't. So I
think well put. I think that's enough said.
The discourse around this game is so toxic, and I love this game,
dude. I think you did a really good job with what you just said. I don't think you have to say anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You just, if you think Joel was actually a good guy, like
he's relatable.
Yeah. And there's a difference between good and relatable.
You feel where he's coming from, but he made a bad choice. And whether you think that you would make the bad choice too, like I'm not here to judge you for that, but that you can't see that there's a possibility that maybe they interpreted him in a certain way that's different from, the way that you've chosen to internalize it, then that you need to go out and like yell at the directors and the people that make the game. You are literally a child. So
we're going to go ahead and move on because I do think you did put that so beautifully.
This is the more positive note, though.
Despite the harassment the team has received over their last game, they don't look to be slowing down anytime soon, as Naughty Dog is reportedly already hiring for a new game. Naughty Dog is already hiring for a new single-player game, and developers who can... Oh, you already did it. And developers who can work on next-generation graphics less than a month after the release of The Last of Us 2. A job listing on the studio's career website for a level environment designer specifically mentions single-player in its header, while another for a melee gameplay animator states that it's looking for someone who can create compelling gameplay for our future projects. Finally, a vacancy for a tools programmer confirms that the new hire will, quote, be working on our next-generation graphics analysis, profiling and debugging tool in conjunction with our sister technology groups, unquote, suggesting that Naughty Dog has already started working with upcoming console, the PS5, for its latest projects. The studio clarified in 2018 that it's working on a standalone Last of Us 2 multiplayer experience, a spiritual successor to the first game's faction mode. But these new job posts suggest there's a lot more going on within the hollowed halls of its Santa Monica offices. Given that we've only just been treated to The Last of Us Part 2, it's unlikely we'll hear anything about these in-the-works titles soon, though The Last of Us 2 ending certainly doesn't rule out a sequel or Uncharted The Lost Legacy style standalone expansion. Basically, don't completely reject the idea of a Naughty Dog reveal at PlayStation's next State of Play. Question, and remember you can answer these, what would you like to see Naughty Dog do next?
Why don't you answer this question since I kind of dominated the end of the last thing.
Hopefully, what I will say, I don't know what I want next. I need to play The Last of Us 2, so I feel like I have less to offer in this realm. Mm-hmm. I have to actually play it before I can have an opinion on what I want to see next.
The different opinion that you would have, though, is that you've played the Uncharted games where I have not.
Okay.
So,
I kind of feel like that would be the next thing. But it would be kind of cool to see something new. Mm-hmm. It would be kind of cool just to... rather than Last of Us or Uncharted, how about just a new IP?
Well, wasn't it last week, I think, that we were going over Sony hiring for a new secret studio that's not really a secret studio?
Their top secret volcano lair.
And they're rumored to be working on a new Uncharted.
Right.
So if Naughty Dog is freed up from working on Uncharted and they also just finished The Last of Us, I doubt that they're moving into another Last of Us or something like that. So it's probably going to be a new IP.
That would make sense.
But they could be going back to Jak and Daxter. They don't have any part in Crash anymore. Crash Bandicoot is made by other people now. The license is owned by, I think, Activision. Somebody else owns it now. So yeah, I think that we're gonna get a brand new experience.
That's cool by me.
So they've done the zombie apocalypse thing, the mature zombie apocalypse thing. They've done kind of the Indiana Jones-ish thing with Uncharted. So where they could go next, I don't know. But I think that they're more than... I think they need to come out and try to do something completely different, because while their games are brilliant and their direction is brilliant and like the way that they make their games is brilliant, they do rely heavily on third-person shooters, and it would be nice for them to do something similar to like what Guerrilla did, where they were known for Killzone and making shooters, and then they went out and made Horizon. So I think that it would be cool if they challenged themselves from like an actual game design standpoint, and because a lot of Naughty Dog games, like it's not that they're not designed well, it's just that they don't attempt a whole lot that's like out there and new for them. They kind of rely on telling these stories very well with high production values and set pieces and great writing and stuff, but they're all encapsulated within the same gameplay framework, and it'd be cool to see them get out of that and do something like if they did something like Dark Souls, or like something just a different genre altogether.
I don't really know where they could go. I mean, that would be kind of cool, except for I think I'm kind of over the Dark Souls stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to see another Bloodborne.
Okay, I guess, yeah. 'Cause since Sony kind of owns the Bloodborne license, I don't think that they'd be like, let's have our best studio go and make Bloodborne. Yeah.
I just, whatever they do, I think you're right. We're gonna see something fresh, a new IP. Whatever they do, it's not that I want them to avoid controversy, but it would be nice to see something that's not so fought.
I like that they push narrative boundaries.
No,
it's just
that's not
they're
what I
making
mean.
cinematic experiences more than they're making games at this point. I
no,
feel like.
it's not a matter of wanting them to skirt around controversy and not make any kind of waves. That's not what I'm saying. But to have something that's just a little less, has people a little less divided would be great. Just like, can we all just get a good game that no one's gonna be like, let's all hate on each other for a minute. Like that whole article, like I feel like this every time we talk about The Last of Us 2, it's all. And these people are just awful, and these people are awful, and everybody's fighting. Can't we all? It's video games, people.
Yeah,
I
just want them to get away from like the dour, like, because even Uncharted 4, for being part of the Uncharted franchise, which is more lighthearted,
pretty dark.
It's pretty dark, and it seems like ever since Druckmann has kind of taken over as creative lead, they did The Last of Us, which was very dark, very depressing. Then they made Uncharted more dark and depressing, and then they made The Last of Us 2, which is one of the most dark and depressing games of all time. I love the game. I think that there's so many great things about it, but it is a dark pill to swallow. So it would be cool to see them, to at least try a new thing that's maybe more lighthearted, or
not everything has to be dark and terrible. Yeah,
and like I was saying earlier, like I think that they need to get less into trying to ape cinema in game form, and more into, making mechanically interesting games that are gamified. And it's not the gameplay in Last of Us 2 is great. I enjoyed it a lot, and I think that it does feel pretty gamey as far as like what it's trying to do, but I don't know, it's not like a Gears of War or something like that.
Not every game has to be a political statement. And not every video game has to be a movie. I'm not saying anything about them having just done it. I'm just saying it doesn't have to be that again.
Are you a fan of wrestling that lives in the Pittsburgh area? Do you enjoy punk rock? How about diversity and inclusion? Well, Enjoy Wrestling, a new promotion set to launch in 2020, is here for you. Though they're a startup, the folks at Enjoy have years of experience booking punk shows, promoting bands, and putting out records. They're also pretty well versed in wrestling, too, having done commentary, videography, graphic design, and social media for many high-profile independent companies. Enjoy Wrestling wants to bring the most talented wrestlers out there to Pittsburgh, regardless of gender, race, or sexual orientation. That same ethos applies to their audience as well, as they strive to create an inclusive and diverse wrestling community aimed at developing a supportive environment for marginalized fans. You can find Enjoy Wrestling on Twitter @EnjoyWrestle, on Instagram @Instagram.com/EnjoyWrestling, or you can contact them directly via email at enjoywrestlingpgh@gmail.com. You know the perfect example of the kind of game that we're talking about? Halo 3, which comes to PC on July 14th. That is 2 days from the date of recording, so by the time you're listening to this, the game will be out on PC. This is from an article from Ari Notice at Kotaku. Eyes up, Space Marines. 13 years after it landed on console, Halo 3 is finally coming to PC. As announced by the official Halo Twitter account, it will be available next Tuesday as the next installment of the Halo Master Chief Collection. Halo 3 is the capstone of the original Halo trilogy. The second game, if you'll recall, featured one of gaming's great cliffhangers. After hitching a ride across space only to get rudely queried? Yeah. As to what the hell he thinks he's doing, Chief responds, finishing this fight. Cut to black. The third game is all about, well, finishing the fight, until 343 Industries found a way to restart the intergalactic beef. But come on, the real draw of Halo 3 is, and always has been, the multiplayer. Here's hoping it holds up. Prediction, it will. That's a good write-up. I like that. Question, do you think Halo 3 is as good as everyone remembers it to be? I had an impassioned discussion with a friend about this not long ago because I'm excited to play it, and he's one of the people that loved Halo 3 when it came out, and he played the multiplayer like crazy, and he's always wanted something like Halo 3, but like, you know, able to play modern. And in having this conversation, I was like, hey man, this game's coming back, we're gonna play this is gonna be great. And it's gonna be great, and are you excited? And we should definitely get into this. And he's like, I don't know if it's as good as I don't think it's going to be as great as I remember it to be. And I'm like, man, that's so weird, because you've literally been asking for this game forever. And now here it is, and you're like, I don't know. And I'm just like, we did play a little bit of Reach multiplayer for one of our streams.
Yeah,
that was
because we had
abilities and stuff, you know.
We had a hard time getting things to work correctly.
Right, for sure.
So that's why we had to do some of that. And it was fun. I think it was enjoyable. It's definitely not... I think the expectations for multiplayer have changed a lot.
Yeah.
So playing that was kind of like, wow, okay, you have a very limited selection on guns. The maps are so tiny. The engagements are too quick. Like, you know, it's kind of it's definitely not the same, because the Halo multiplayer back in the day was like pinnacle. Now it's like, meh. It's
a game of a certain age, and a whole lot of, and I mean, so many games have come out since, that have kind of improved on or changed the formula, and the zeitgeist of multiplayer is different now.
Yeah, I think the question of whether or not I think it's as good as I remember it kind of what the thing about that is that I haven't actually played Halo 3. I only played the first 2.
Oh, this is going to be so good. I'm so excited.
That's what's so great about the stream that we're streaming on Tuesdays at 7:30.
Which we will be continuing our Halo CE stream. So if you love Halo.
What's cool about that is that I'm getting to experience these in real time with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, only CE and 2 I ever played.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of this cool, new thing, like playing through Reach. I mean, that was my first look at the story.
Yeah.
And so that'll be the same case when 3 comes around, too.
I will be really excited to take you through Halo 3. I don't think it's not like the first 2 where there's an actual remake that's been done for it. I think it's just upscaled 1080p and stuff like that. So it's going to look better, but I remember the original game. I went back and tried to play Halo 3 a while after it came out, and the environments are pretty empty, and it's still I don't know. I don't think that it's going to hold up as I didn't think that the campaign of Halo 3 was that great, but the multiplayer is really, really good. And I'll be interested because I kind of like the stripped down. Halo seems stripped down from what multiplayer is now, and I like having that. So,
all right, Evan, I think it's time to get into the next piece of news.
All right, I think this one's yours.
Microsoft reportedly blocking publishers from charging for next-gen upgrades. This is an article by James Batchelor. I think we ran into this last time.
Yeah, we did.
This is on GameIndustry.biz. Microsoft has reportedly been telling developers and publishers they are not allowed to charge players who wish to upgrade from Xbox One versions of their games to Xbox Series X versions of their games. That's according to sources speaking to Video Games Chronicle, which reports Xbox is encouraging companies to offer free next-gen upgrades, either via its Smart Delivery initiative or their own scheme. Smart Delivery allows players to buy a game once and play it across both Xbox One and Xbox Series X with their save data, achievements, and other information synced between the two versions. So far, 14 versions have been confirmed for Smart Delivery, including Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Cyberpunk 2077, and Halo Infinite. Meanwhile, EA has come up with its own dual entitlement scheme whereby people who purchase Madden NFL 21 on Xbox One or PS4 will receive their corresponding next-gen version for free, although this has been claimed before. This has to be claimed before Madden NFL 2022 is released. Microsoft is also encouraging other offers, such as cross-gen bundles, either physical or digital, where customers receive both versions of the game. This is the route 2K Games has taken, positioning their
$99.99
bundle of NBA 2K21 for Xbox One and Xbox Series X as the Mamba Forever Edition. Games that do not use Smart Delivery will not be able to share certain save data across generations. VGC reports that titles will not be able to add support for the scheme if they do not have it at launch. A Microsoft spokesperson told the site that developers and publishers ultimately decide how they deliver their games, and we work with them to provide the best possible experience based on their needs. Okay, Evan, so this is strange to me. This whole thing is getting really
confusing, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is the opposite of what they wanted, I think. The whole point of Smart Delivery is to keep things simple. You buy the game once, you get it on both systems, that's it. And now, I don't know what the point of doing that is when you're also saying, well, we're also open to people selling two different versions as well as the a bundled version like they're doing with NBA 2K. It's encouraging these things but not requiring them, just like they're encouraging, the 4K 60 thing, but they're not requiring it and stuff like that.
to kind of, for the viewer, what really is confusing about this is NBA 2K21 has already been announced to have a $60 version for the Xbox One and a $70 version for the Xbox Series X. I think we talked about this last week,
we did,
and that's why when we were talking about price hikes,
Yeah.
okay, and that's probably going to set a standard where all future games on next gen will be $70 or more, probably. And so what's weird about this is that now if Microsoft is saying you can't charge more for upgrades, the situation you run into with the 2K21, now maybe they'll say you can only get one, or you can get the other, and you can't upgrade them, or you can get this bundle and have both. Now that makes sense, but the problem is, let's say you buy the Xbox One version, okay, and you go to upgrade to the Series X, it's $10 more, okay, for the Xbox Series X version. So you buy the Xbox One version and then upgrade it to the Series X version, and now you've only paid $60 for a $70 game.
Yeah. Well,
why?
The way that it's worded is Microsoft has reportedly been telling developers and publishers they are not allowed to charge players who wish to upgrade from the Xbox One version of their games to Xbox Series X. So they're not saying that you can't have different versions. It's just that you can't say charge only $10 to then upgrade to the next version. But they're going to leave it open to say, basically, it doesn't make sense to me because it's the less consumer-friendly version, and the whole porpoise, the entire dolphin, the whole purpose of it is for smart delivery to make sure that you don't have to spend extra money twice to do this. But that's kind of what they're going to be doing, right? If you're not allowed to charge for the upgrade, and you're offering the two different versions, a lot of people are going to say, a lot of developers are going to say, well, you can just have the other version for free. But what NBA 2K is doing is basically, you either need to pay us $100 for both versions, or you can, if you're dumb, go out and buy, or if you don't think that you're, before you buy NBA 2K21 or whatever, if you don't think that you'll end up getting an Xbox Series X and you only get the Xbox One version, and then you end up getting the Series X, and you've bought the $60 version, you can't just pay the extra $10. You have to go out and buy the $70 version, and in reality, you should have, based on what you ended up doing, bought the $100 version. But
what makes more sense is that I think it makes the most sense to say you've already paid the $60 for the Xbox One version. You want to upgrade, it costs $10 more.
Mm-hmm.
Pay $10 and you can have the full game. I think that makes the most sense.
Yeah.
This whole thing is really, it makes no sense.
Yeah, I think that Microsoft definitely needs to just be more firm with this and just say we're not allowing people to charge the extra $10 to buy or to upgrade for the Series X version. I think that they should just make it mandatory that all games work across gen, where if you buy the Xbox One version, you get the Series X version. I think they need
disagree. I disagree. I think what they need to do, I think, that makes the most sense is let the developers handle the situation. I think what they're trying to say, I think, and it's kind of not working, is saying they don't want you to have to pay the entire price for another game. So you already spent $60. You shouldn't have to pay $70 again for the same game on the next gen. Saying that you don't want to pay anything for an upgrade just doesn't work. I'm willing to pay an extra $10 to upgrade,
right,
if that's the cost difference between games, but saying you can't charge anything doesn't work. I understand you don't want people to feel like they had to pay the same thing twice for a game, but saying nothing, you're actually taking this. Do you know what I'm trying to say here?
No, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but it creates this dichotomy of where people are going to be looking at these games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, like Cyberpunk, and like Halo, and they're going to say, well, why do I only have to spend money once for these games versus these other games? You know, and I realize it's just how these different these different developers are choosing to do their business, but you're going to end up creating unfair comparisons where
Right.
you're going to hold up a game like NBA 2K21 and a game like Cyberpunk, and you're going to have them next to each other, and you're going to compare them because their pricing scheme is different. It's just unavoidable. And especially for something like, the reason this bugs me so much is because it's from a freaking annual sports franchise that is doing this, that is saying that, you know, we aren't going to have a single SKU. You're going to have to pay $20 extra to have both versions, because really they want to charge you $30 more, because they want to charge you $70 for the regular Series X version, or for the Xbox Series X version. And if you want to get both, you need to pay them $100. So they're saying the next gen upgrade is worth $30 to them.
But that's what I'm getting at. They're doing that because Xbox is imposing this stupid rule. I feel like if Microsoft wasn't enforcing this stupid rule, it wouldn't be an issue. They'd say, okay, $10 and you can upgrade.
Well, but they can do that though. They can already do that.
No, because they're saying you're not allowed to charge for upgrade.
Well, right, but they don't. Then if it was like, well, we wanted to only charge you the extra $10, but Microsoft is doing this, then why? Then charge people $79.99 for the version that includes both games. Don't charge them $99.99. Then it's not like, oh, well, we wanted to give you the option and only charge you $10, but Microsoft said that we can't just let you just upgrade your old version. You have to. No, then they're still charging you $20 extra more than like the situation that we're even talking about, which is greedy as hell for an annual franchise.
Because that also, in that instance, you're actually dealing with that includes physical as well. So you're literally getting a physical copy of both games. That costs money.
It doesn't cost enough for me to think that they should charge you $20 extra though. Like, printing another disc and another case isn't that much money where they need $20 extra over what everybody else would technically be charging you. I don't know. It just seems, and again, if it was a game like Cyberpunk that wanted to do that, I think I would have a little more sympathy, because it's a huge, it's taken them years to make such a game. They've poured years and all this money into making this game. It needs to succeed. And the next opportunity that they'll have to make money off of another game won't come for another 5-6 years, because they make those kind of games. But when it's something like a sports game where it's basically like a reskin and they tweak some stuff and maybe add like one or two things every year, and they want to charge you $30 more to get both versions, it doesn't seem justified to me. That's to me.
I just think that Microsoft's. I see where you're coming from. You've put it out there in a way. I get what you're saying, but I feel like Microsoft's entire position on this thing is so arbitrary, because they don't want to have to tell people that they're going to have to pay a little more. So then now they're saying, oh, to everyone else, oh, you're not allowed to charge anymore either. And they need to just step off.
Well, I think
Let
they're
people
also
make their own decisions.
They're also very tied to this smart delivery idea, and they've really tried to push it as like this,
which is what Microsoft always does.
Yeah,
that's what they always do. You need to sign on to our idea, or else.
Well, realistically, we're having this confusion, and there's going to be all of these different there's this unnecessary mess created because they wanted to keep things simple in selling you a delivery service that is basically equivalent to a patch that we've had on PCs for literally ever. where all they need to do is patch in the nicer textures to you, and that's it. Like and patch in performance enhancements and stuff, and that's the only difference between these games at this point. And it's just like I've had a problem with smart delivery ever since they started trying to sell it as like this unique thing, because it's really like it's different than just being a simple patch. But I mean, it's all it is. How is it different than a patch? It's the same version of a game that looks slightly like that has things in it that are different, that will take advantage of hardware that can run it. But other than that, it's like on PC, if I were to get a new graphics card that could run whatever game at better settings, I don't have to download a patch. It just works. Nobody, like the developers of the game aren't going out to PC gamers and being like, we're supporting 1080p 60 FPS gameplay, and maybe in the future, for all the people that have really strong computers that can support 4K 60 support, maybe we'll charge you $10 and you can play the game in 4K 60 on your better machine. Like that, to me, that's what it sounds like to me.
I have a feeling like the way I feel about this, I think that's why PC gaming is actually seeing this resurgence.
Because you don't have to deal with this crap?
Partially because of that. Because of what you're saying. Like, there are games that launched, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
That still look really good today because they're just designed to look so good. Mm-hmm. And then as you upgrade your computer, you can run them at higher and higher spec.
Yeah. Well, Halo is the perfect example.
Now, hold on. Consoles, I think what needs to happen for consoles to stay relevant is we need to move to a more modular space.
Yeah, I don't think that the companies really trust people to like understand that stuff. It's a big hill to climb to get people to be involved in the more granular stuff when really consoles have always been just, it's the nature of them. Like, we sell this box, it works, play it.
Now, and there's something that's nice about that, and I understand paying for that experience.
Yeah.
You pay for this thing, this will work, and everything that's on it will work. But, I mean, I can still remember the day I remember N64, okay? You take out the memory chip and you pop in a new one, and now all of a sudden you can play Donkey Kong Country and you can play Perfect Dark. Mm-hmm. And you couldn't play them before because the system didn't have enough memory to run them.
Yeah.
And I was okay with that. I'm still okay with that today. Saying, okay, if you want to run these games, you're going to have to make an upgrade to your system. I can understand the negativity that would come with that. But at the same time, saying now to certain developers, you already deal with that on computer, and it doesn't seem to be a problem. Mm-hmm. Saying there are certain requirements that your system must meet before you can play this game doesn't seem to be an issue with PC gamers, only with console gamers.
Well, to be fair, it is an issue with PC gamers. It's not an issue with PC gamers because they're informed enough to make those decisions, right? A lot of people forego PCs despite all of the benefits of them, specifically because they don't want to deal with that. And that's why they go to console. You know what I'm saying? So I think for those people, realistically, the hurdle to climb isn't really that huge, but I feel like they just can't be bothered. It's one of those kind of things where I'd rather not deal with it.
There is something that's refreshing about going into consoles and knowing that this is, when I put this disc in, that's it.
Yeah.
It's going to work. But I don't know. This whole thing just... Shall we just jump ahead?
I would like to jump ahead because I get to read this one and I'm so excited. Okay. This is the perfect thing for me to read right now. Okay. The Boys Season 2 release date has been announced and a new trailer has been released. Like a previous article we did, we covered, I kind of have combined two different articles because they kind of relate. I don't really think they needed to be ripped into two different articles, but News. The date for The Boys 2 Season 2 has been announced. The Boys Season 2 has been announced via an online event.
You didn't do...
Oh, sorry. This is from Paul Tassi at Forbes and Adele Anchors at IGN. The date for The Boys Season 2 has been announced via an online event with the cast, hosted by Patton Oswalt, who is joining the cast this upcoming season. The Boys Season 2 arrives September 4th, 2020. However, Amazon is doing something a bit different this time around. While The Boys Season 1 dropped all its episodes in one giant bingeable chunk, that's not what's happening for Season 2. Rather, Amazon will release the first 3 episodes on September 4th, and then the next 5 episodes weekly, so that the last one should air on October 9th, if that schedule holds. That's basically what they did with Devs. So a new trailer, as well as a new poster of the show's wanted cast members, was also released last week. For those that aren't familiar with what The Boys is, this is a quick description I pulled from Wikipedia. The Boys is set in a universe where superpowered individuals are recognized as heroes by the general public and owned by powerful corporation Vought International, which markets and monetizes them. Outside their heroic personas, most are arrogant and corrupt. The series primarily focuses on 2 groups, the 7, Vought International's premier superhero team, and the titular Boys, vigilantes looking to keep the corrupted heroes under control. The Boys are led by Billy Butcher, who despises all superpowered people, and the 7 are led by egotistical and unstable Homelander. As a conflict ensues between the 2 groups, the series also follows the new members of each team: Huey Campbell of the Boys, who joins the vigilantes after his girlfriend is killed by one of the 7, and Annie January / Starlight, a young and hopeful heroine forced to face the truth about the heroes she admires. The new trailer opens with a small fleet of military vehicles embarking on a multi-state manhunt for Billy Butcher and his known associates, who are on the run from the law, as they desperately try to regroup and fight back against Vought and the superheroes. Meanwhile, Stormfront, the newest member of the 7, arrives on the scene, threatening to disrupt the status quo and cause problems for Homelander as she unleashes her super powerful plasma bolt capability. So I am super excited about The Boys Season 2. I'm happy that it's come around so fast. I wasn't expecting it at all. I kind of had forgot about it, to be honest, that the Boys was the thing. It was one of my, like, the pleasantest of surprises from the last couple years. It's a super violent show when it wants to be, but it's not all the time. But when they do have the violence, it is like, this is what a superhero would do to a person, like a regular person. If Superman really shot somebody with his laser eyes, this is what would happen. And I love it. There's some sort of like punky sort of anti-establishment thing that runs through the whole thing. It's just a fantastic show. I really love it. And you've never seen it.
No,
and
I've never seen it.
This is 100% a thing. Like, maybe after this, I will sit you down and make you watch an episode.
I'm down for that. I'm someone of an open mind. I try to I always try to experience something, like TV show wise. I'm always interested because I feel like there's especially something that sounds like this, where it sounds like it has the potential for like. I'm a fan of thrillers and crime stuff, and this sounds like it could be very along those lines with superhero. Like that's kind. I'm having a hard time forming my thought here.
It's kind of like pulpy.
Yeah.
And it's also. It's like not super serious, but it is super serious. Like there's plenty of levity, there's plenty of comedy in it, but I was also like very much like, what's going to happen through every the next episode.
This sounds very intriguing to me.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what it's about. So I really love the series Legion. Mm-hmm. Every time you talk about a show, I'm like, you need to watch Legion.
I know. I have heard this 1,000 times. And
there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Now, Legion, I only watched maybe 5 or 6 episodes, and I had to kind of stop myself because it's... it messes with my mind.
Yeah, no,
and that's the way the show's designed to be.
I walked in when Eileen and Colin were watching some of it, and I was just completely like, "What is going on?" I was so lost, and they were just like, "Yeah, this is the whole show. There's just stuff going on the whole time, and it's just hard to follow."
It's not even just the hard to followness, because I feel like hard to followness is more of a crutch than it is an actual like. The way that it's written, it actually they bend reality and they break, like the show is written to break your brain.
Right. It asks something of the watcher, right? A little bit, I think.
Yes.
It's like it's asking you to put in the investment and like use your mind instead of just like sit back and be like, "That's life," you know. That's life.
I mean, literally, it's super psychological. And the way they do the visuals and everything. But okay, The Boys to me seems like it has the capacity to do something like that, maybe to a lighter extent. Because if you've seen anything of it, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it goes that far into the psychological breaking of the brain, no. But it seems like it has the capacity for that thriller-esque.
It's a lot like Watchmen. You ever
yes.
seen the movie
yes.
or read the...
Yes.
It's a lot like Watchmen, where it's, you know, the bad guys and the good guys, they're not that different.
Yeah. It's more real in that way.
It's very cynical, I will say. It takes superheroes and the good and the bad and the upright guys, and it turns it in a completely cynical way.
I'm always excited to be exposed to I'm always excited to be exposed to a new type of experience.
To nudes.
So I'm interested. I'm very, very much interested to see what this is about. Maybe when
are you
we're
a
done
fan
here,
of Carl Urban?
Who? Say what?
Carl Urban. Do you know who that is? He played Judge Dredd in the newest Judge Dredd movie. He was one of the Gondor kids from Lord of the Rings.
You've got me, buddy.
Okay. Well, he does a great job as Billy Butcher, and the guy I don't have his name off the top of my head, but the guy that plays Homelander is one of the most hateable villains.
I always love convincing villains are like,
oh
the
man,
best.
he's just the best. Oh, it's like I hate the dude so much. It's just, but he's so badass, and
okay,
it's awesome.
All right. I'm excited to see this, and maybe when we're done watching this, we'll actually just go and watch an episode. I'm cool with that.
Well,
if
we're
you
both
are.
hungry, so we'll need something to watch while we eat. So, pigow.
All right. So jumping down the list. Did that actually take? Yes, it did. Okay. Sorry. Valve employees want to make a full-scale, non-VR Half-Life game, and at least 5 other Half-Life projects were canceled before Half
Life Alyx.
Half-Life Alyx.
Alyx.
This is an article by Tile Wild and Andy Chalk. Andy Chalk, woo, my boy at PC Gamer. That's my boy. All right, Jeff.
It's
Jeff. I know. I was just
get off my lawn.
I've heard. Yeah, I know who Jeff Keighley is. I was just having a little bit of fun. Okay, Jeff Keighley's interactive storybook about the development of Half-Life Alyx ends with a section on what's next for the Half-Life series. I was gonna. Where did I see this? I'm sorry. We have a rule. I'm supposed to read this.
Oh, you're right. No, go on.
According to Keighley, the majority of Valve's Half-Life team wants to build a non-VR game. Privately, most of the team hopes that the next big thing will indeed be a full-scale Half-Life game built not for VR, writes Keighley, but as a game accessible across all traditional gaming platforms. However, he says that there is some doubt within the company as to whether Valve will commit to a large-scale development project like that, which is a bit odd if Valve is truly a leaderless, flat company as it has claimed to be. I'm going to speculate and guess that it isn't really flat, and someone up top has to approve this sort of thing. Whatever form it takes, though, more Half-Life is definitely ahead. We're not afraid of Half-Life no more.
Yeah, that's the direct quote. We're not afraid of Half-Life no more.
Valve designer Phil Coe told Keighley. Going from Half Life Alyx to a new big thing, which will be even bigger, is pretty exciting, said designer and programmer.
Tajeev Kaholi.
Right now, I love that you have to be my name translator. Right now, it's possible the next Half-Life thing is another VR project, but nothing is confirmed. It could be something that isn't a VR game, but isn't a big non-VR action adventure game either. I'm so confused.
Right now, it's possible the next Half-Life thing is another VR project, but nothing is confirmed. It could be something that isn't a VR game, but isn't a big non-VR action adventure game either. So it's. I think that they're saying that it doesn't necessarily have to be like a first-person shooter either. It could be like a Fallout Shelter kind of thing or something else.
One final twist. Keighley also says that near the beginning of 2018, a small team at Valve started work on a top-secret project. Alongside that news, in the same documentary, it was revealed that at least 5 Half-Life related projects were scrapped before the completion of Half-Life Alyx. The big eye-catcher is that a full-on Half-Life 3 was in development briefly between 2013 and 2014. Valve wanted to blend procedural generation with crafted experience to make it more replayable, an idea inspired in part by Left 4 Dead. It was ultimately halted, though, because the Source 2 engine it was initially created in wasn't finished. A couple of Half-Life-themed VR projects, including one that sounds rather like the Episode 3 synopsis that former Valve writer Mark Laidlaw shared a few years ago, were also toyed with but ultimately canceled, according to an IGN report on the documentary, which says that at least 5 Half-Life projects were proposed and dropped between Episode 2 and Alyx. Other canceled projects include an open-world go at Left 4 Dead 3. At Left 4 Dead 3, and...
You're just so excited for Left 4 Dead 3.
An Elder Souls / Dark Souls inspired RPG codenamed RPG. A Minecraft-styled voxel game, and Vader, Valve's original VR headset design, which the developers estimated would have sold for around $5,000 each.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Question: can a new Half-Life game really live up to the expectations fans have for it? Before we jump into that, I had something that I wanted to comment on, but I kind of have to go back to the beginning of this to remember what's going on. Okay, right. This whole thing about this documentary.
Yeah.
I actually saw this, and I don't remember where I saw it.
It was on Steam.
Was it on Steam?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's $10 on Steam if anybody wants to check it out.
I was actually gonna grab it because I thought it was Alyx, and I was like, "Oh, cool!" And I was like, "Well, I don't have a VR anyway." And then I looked a little deeper, and I was like, "Oh, this is a documentary."
Maybe that was intentional. Maybe they named it Half-Life Alyx something so that people would go and say $10 Half-Life Alyx.
Yep,
maybe, I don't know.
It looked interesting, but I passed it up because it's like I'm gonna pay. Yeah, it would be better suited if you put that on something like Vudu or Amazon or something.
So what I take from this article is that Valve must have a lot of money to just
throw around,
cancel five titles, and
I think
nobody even knew about it. Like, it just doesn't even matter.
I think you'd be surprised probably at how many projects other studios throw away.
That's a fair point. Yeah. Maybe this is just what we've heard of. There's probably many more.
Oh yeah.
But where do I think a new Half-Life game can a new Half-Life game live up to fan expectations? No, I don't think that it can.
No,
I think that a new Half-Life game could come out and be really, 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 really good. But it will never be what fans wanted it to be, which is something that came out after Episode 2, relatively shortly after that, and it was Half-Life 3, and it was first-person shooter. Like I think that the feeling that people are looking for would have been encapsulated if everything would have played out how a normal sequel would have played out, where it would have come out long ago, right at the peak of Half-Life popularity and stuff like that, and continued the train. But we're so far removed from it now that it just doesn't feel like. I feel like even the most ardent Half-Life fans are recognizing the meme of it, of the whole aspect of it, you know.
So this whole idea reeks of Duke Nukem to me. I don't know if you remember that whole incident where Duke Nukem Forever was like raised from the dead 30 million times, and then they finally actually came out with it, and everyone was like, this is complete crap. And I kind of think the series was crap from the beginning. But anyway, and then there was someone else, I don't remember where it was, I don't know if it was another podcast or what it was that I was listening to, and the people were talking about expectations when they go into like a movie or a video game, where it's like, so what they said was, oh, when you go into an experience and you expect it to be crap, and then it ends up being crap because that's what you expected.
Yeah.
In my experience, it's never been that. It's always when you go into something and you're like, oh, this is going to be awesome, that it can never live up to it, and so it's crap because of your expectation.
Yeah. No, that's a good point to bring up. I agree with that.
It oftentimes, what I always try to do before I go into a movie that I've been anticipating or a game that I've been anticipating is to try to remind myself of all the ways that it could suck. Yeah, right?
Yeah, you'd rather be surprised that a thing is good than let down that a thing is bad.
And then like, because I did this with Metroid Prime 3, and I heard a lot of bad things about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are you talking about? Because I had anticipated where it could go wrong, and so when I played it, I was happily, with how good it was. Mm-hmm. And sure, there were a couple of things that it could have done better, but like the anticipation for it was the hype was so to the point where there was nothing that they could have done that everyone would have been happy. I have a feeling that Nintendo's going to run into the same problem with Metroid Prime 4. But that's what they're going to run into with any Half-Life that they put out. It's not going to live up to 1 and 2.
Yeah, and I think that the bar has been raised a bunch, and it's been raised a lot since, because Portal is a first-person shooter, but it's also a puzzle game.
Yes,
and
Portal's awesome.
In terms of stuff like Half-Life, the bar has been raised by studios like 4A making Metro, and Bethesda with Doom and stuff like that. Like, they're different. They try to do different things, but like the bar for what a good first-person shooter is completely different than what it was back when Half-Life, even Episode 2 came out. So I think that it could be good as long as we just remove ourselves from the hype.
Okay, so I'm going to actually, little bonus segment here. I'm going to coin a term for overhype.
Okay. I'm in. No, now you've got me.
Matrix syndrome.
The Matrix syndrome, because of what people had their expectations for, like Matrix revelations and revolutions and stuff like that.
Yeah,
revelations. What am I talking about?
Matrix. It was
evolution.
Yeah. No. What was the first? What was the first remake? The first Matrix 2?
Reloaded.
Matrix Reloaded, and then Matrix Revolutions.
I should be taken out back and just for that. Like
I thought they were perfectly good movies, but a lot of people were so hyped for them because they wanted the first movie over again.
Yeah.
That they insist they're garbage movies. I don't think they were.
No, we watched them very recently, and I like them a lot.
They're really good. But if you're hyped off the first movie and you go into the second and third, you're like, wow, these are hot garbage.
Yeah.
So from now on, the idea that a sequel will never be as good as the first, we're going to call it Matrix Syndrome.
Matrix Syndrome. All right. I can deal with that. I can dig it.
Cool. Jumping off.
Sony invests $250 million into Fortnite maker Epic Games. This is from Dean Takahashi at VentureBeat. Sony has invested $250 million for a minority stake in Fortnite maker Epic Games. The company announced today. With the new money, Epic Games has raised $1.83 billion to date. Also from Tencent. The company said the deal cements an already close relationship and reinforces their shared goal to advance the state of the art in technology, entertainment, and socially connected online services. The close relationship was underscored in May when Epic first showed the upcoming Unreal Engine 5 graphics running on a PlayStation 5. As the company itself has disclosed, Epic Games raised $1.58 billion in 3 previous funding rounds. In 2012, the company received a $330 million investment from Tencent for... Wow, that was in 2012? Wow, that was way long ago. I didn't think it was 8 years ago. That's insane. $330 million from Tencent for a 40% ownership stake. Under the deal, the investment enables Sony and Epic to broaden their collaboration with Sony's portfolio of entertainment assets and technology and Epic's social entertainment platform and digital ecosystem. Think Fortnite's increasing use as a social space for the Epic Game or the Epic Game Store to create unique experiences for consumers and creators. The closing of the investment is subjected to customary closing conditions, including regulatory approvals. Epic confirmed it will still be able to publish to other platforms. As noted, Sony is acquiring only a minority part of Epic Games, and it is not acquiring a controlling stake in the company. Update: Sony is acquiring a 1.4% stake in Epic, which means the deal values Epic Games at $17.86 billion. So a very small stake in Epic.
1.4%
is not a whole lot. 10 cent, $330 million, so 40% ownership stake. But that was back in 2012, so a long time ago, before the Epic Game Store came out, before Fortnite, all that stuff. Tencent got in on the ground floor and got a 40% ownership stake. Well, not the ground floor, but I mean before
Right.
Epic Games blew up into and that's insane. $330 million investment in 2012 for a 40% stake. And Sony just invested $250 million, and that's only a percentage and a half stake.
So ask the question.
Does anything substantial come out of this deal, Joe?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
You don't think that this means that that Sony wants to release Horizon on Steam? Do you think that this means that if Sony decides to release more games in the future on PC, that they'll come out as Epic Game Store exclusives?
No. Because this isn't... That would be the other way around. If Epic was buying into Sony and getting Sony to do things exclusively, that would make sense. But Sony is putting money into Epic. That means Sony's just getting a little bit of money as Epic does better.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that Sony has to do anything exclusively through them.
Yeah. Do you think that Epic's going to turn into somebody like, they want to compete with Steam? Do you think that Epic's going to eventually turn into Valve, where they really don't make games?
Oh, that already seems to be what's happening.
I mean, they make Fortnite, they support Fortnite, but
they're
later, moving on, I really think that their output's going to be very minimal.
Yeah.
They're going to put out, their one big game, and then they're going to hope to ride off of Epic Game Store funds and stuff like that. And, maybe this leads to more exclusive, like timed stuff, like exclusive Fortnite content, maybe, or maybe having Sony like Nathan Drake in Fortnite or something like that. But
I still think you're seeing that the opposite way around. Epic didn't put money towards Sony. Sony put money towards Epic.
Right.
They're not under any kind of obligation to do anything exclusive. That's just them saying, hey, now that we have a stake, we get some money anytime you get money. This, to me, is just Sony doing what any other business does and invests.
Yeah.
They're saying, we have a little bit of cash. We can give you some cash, and we'll get some money back in return down the pike. I don't see anything happening.
No?
No.
Okay.
I mean, maybe this, what it does do is give Sony an incentive to make sure that Epic succeeds.
Right. Well,
but to Sony, $250 million is chump change.
Well, okay, but you think this isn't going to like have effects down the road in terms of like Sony made the Decima engine. Guerrilla Games made like the Decima engine to run with Horizon or whatever, and then Sony bought up Kojima Productions, and then they used the Decima engine for Death Stranding and stuff like that. I mean, Epic already showed the Unreal Engine 5 first running on the PlayStation 5. Like, do you think that Sony is then going to use a bunch of well, if you don't want to use Decima or one of our first-party engines, then you should probably use the Unreal Engine because then they can just double dip a little bit and get a little bit extra cash for their investment with Epic, because Epic will get.
Sure enough.
It's. I feel like when we go forward, we're going to see a lot more Sony published games using Unreal Engine in the next gen.
Sure enough, yeah.
Because it's just going to feed itself. Sony puts out this first-party game. Everybody loves Sony first-party games. Epic gets to make money off of every sale of that, and then Sony gets to make money off of every sale of that again, because they get a little bit of money from Epic for that.
That's why it's just a brilliant investment decision on Sony's part. But I don't see anything actually creatively changing in that aspect.
Yeah. Okay.
So moving on. After leak, Ubisoft confirms Far Cry 6 will be shown at Ubisoft Forward. So this is an article from our IGN by Jordan Oleman. Ubisoft has confirmed that Far Cry 6 will be shown at Sunday's Ubisoft Forward conference. The publisher posted a video of Giancarlo Esposito as new antagonist Anton Castillo, along with a message seemingly referencing the leak. Anton would not be pleased. This comes after a leak from the Hong Kong PlayStation Store made its rounds on the internet, confirming Giancarlo Esposito as the game's villain and providing a suggested release date of February 18th, 2021. That's not that far away. The game will also seemingly receive a free PS4 or PS5 upgrade. According to the description in the listing, the game's plot is staged on the island of Yara, the largest Far Cry playground to date, and a tropical paradise frozen in time, which sounds something like a Cuban setting. Giancarlo Esposito's character is seemingly called Anton Castillo and serves as the dictator of the island. The young chap in the image below is his son, Diego, who is following in his bloody footsteps as he attempts to restore his nation back to its former glory. The protagonist is apparently a local Huron called Danny Roja. Roja, right?
Yeah.
A guerrilla soldier fighting for freedom. You will enjoy makeshift weapons, vehicles, and amigos. The new fangs for hire to burn
the tyrannical rulers down. Whatever it says.
As fans have dug into the listing, it has also been revealed that the PS5 version of the game will arrive as a free upgrade. So you'll only have to purchase the game one time to play it. I could choke myself. To play it across both generations. The game also has a 2-player multiplayer mode and offers pre-order bonuses, including a state-of-the-art Disco's Lobos weapon and a skin for Chorizo, whatever that is. Whoever that is. Okay, so we talked on this a lot last week because we were speculating and because...
What?
His name. Breaking Bad.
Oh, jeez, Gus.
Yeah, Gus. Gus Gus Fring is the man.
Oh yeah,
I mean he's a bad man,
for sure.
And okay. Him getting what was coming to him in Breaking Bad was like the best thing ever.
Esposito's a great get for this franchise. Like,
yeah,
as a villain, like he's more recognizable than as much as I love the guy that plays what's his name? The guy that plays Voss, the guy that plays Nacho. Yeah, as much as I love that guy, and I think he's super underrated. Compared to Esposito, I think he does just as good of a job in Better Call Saul.
Every single thing that I've seen Nacho Vargas actor, I'm sorry, I can't remember his name. Everything I've seen him do has been brilliant, and he. What I've started noticing now that I've seen him in Better Call Saul, I've started actually picking him out in other things that I never realized he was there. I was like, oh, that's him there too. And that's him over there. He's brilliant in everything he does. I've not seen him do a bad role.
I'm a little disappointed about this.
Wait.
I like that Esposito's in the game. Sorry, what were you gonna ask?
Well, what I was just gonna say was, yeah. Now I don't remember. Go ahead.
Sorry,
I'm sorry.
So I'm a little disappointed in this just from the standpoint that it's going back to another island. Far Cry 3 was on a tropical island. Far Cry 4 was also very much tropical, even though there were like mountainous areas. Like I don't know. Like they just need a wider variety of environments. Like I'm sick of the islands. I just don't like. What if we took Far Cry to the desert? What if I mean, they did that. They went to Africa in Far Cry 2.
Well, hold on, Evan.
What if we went to Japan? You know, like
Japan is an island.
Yeah, but
everywhere is an island depending on the view from which you're looking at it.
I hate you so much.
I'm just
everything is an island. Look, that's a fair point. The Earth is a space island.
No. I see what you're saying, but it sounds like they're trying to do something. I kind of see this Cuban type setting. Mm-hmm. It kind of makes sense.
No, I think that it could be good. I just like the way that, in a very similar way that like Ubisoft has Assassin's Creed, that has in the last 3 games had really cool jumps in their settings, and ancient Egypt, then Greece, and then now we're going to Vikings and stuff like that. I think those are 3 very distinct areas. And when I go to Cuba in Far Cry 6, is it really gonna feel like that different than going to the mountains on an island in Far Cry 4 or Far Cry another tropical island in Far Cry 3? It'll look better. It'll probably control a little better or whatever because it's a newer game. But like, I don't know. The series is kind of getting tired for me just because of here's our big bad guy, and I don't know.
I really don't have enough knowledge to really say too much. I mean,
I think they need to do something to kind of reinvent the series to make it a little more interesting. Because, every time I hear of a new Far Cry game, I'm just like, all right, I get it. People love these games, so I know that I'm the one that's different. Like, plenty of people love these games, and they're fun. It's just not that. I don't know. I'm just kind of checked out on Far Cry, but I am interested to see what happens with Esposito. And if anything was going to pull me in to a new Far Cry game, it would probably be that he's in it. So,
yeah. I mean, him and Nacho both being in it. It's kind of cool.
Oh, no, Nacho's not in it.
I thought they said that he was going to be in it.
No. I brought it up that because he was in a previous.
When we read in the last week's article, I thought they said that he was going to be in it too.
No, they didn't say that he was going to be in it. They were just referencing him because he was in a previous Far Cry game, and they were both in Better Call Saul. So, okay, well, that's all for today. Remember to like and subscribe wherever you're listening. We would like to hear from you. So comment if you'd like, and you can email us at nonsensorypod@gmail.com. Also, we stream Tuesdays at 7:30 Eastern. Please don't forget. So please come check us out on twitch.tv/nonsensory. And if you can, please support us on Patreon at patreon.com/nonsensorypod. And as always, we love you. Peace.
Be easy.